recording because we're about to get into some fun stuff. I'll edit that part out, don't worry. Okay, first things first, we have runoff elections, y'all. It is very exciting, very important, and I will let Laura and Rashida take it away. Laura, I'm so sorry. Oh, you're muted. There we go. Does that work?
Yes, thank you so much. We would love to have the candidates who are here. I've seen some of you, I can't see everybody at once. Introduce yourself, share your information so that our members and their friends can reach out to you to support your campaigns and help us motivate people to get to the polls for the runoffs. We know it's really difficult. There's really not a lot of information out there. People don't know. I've block walked, and even people who voted in the first one seem to be in the dark about the second one. So let us know how we can help you guys. So Sarah, do you want to call on people so it's not awkward, or how do you want to do that?
Yeah, you go ahead. I think you have the list, and I'm sharing my screen so I can't see it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I hope I can see everybody well. Let me pull it out so I can see. Oh, I can see more people. All right, I'm going to go from how I can see people. So I see Casey Prince first. So Casey.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you all tonight. And I'm had the honor of serving for the last 13 years in the city of Plano in various functions, and as the place 4 council member for the last 4 years. Currently, I serve as the mayor pro tem, and I would love to have the honor to serve you again. I'm a mother of 2 boys, a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. And I think I bring a unique perspective to our council. I'm a business leader in our community. I've worked in the Plano business community for 15 years. So I also bring that perspective in addition to being a working mom. And I'm just proud of some of the things that we've accomplished over the time I've been on the council, including redevelopment of Collin Creek Mall, increasing some great parks in Plano, and also redeveloping some of our aging parks, bringing more trails, and then just also the redevelopment of the entire 75 corridor. And I think we've got some more work that we need to do. And so I just love the opportunity to continue serving you and making sure that we have good leadership in Plano, because we're going to have to make some tough decisions to make sure that we're always a thriving and inviting and welcoming community for the next generation that comes up. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Casey. And by the way, I'm going in the order. I can see people on Zoom on my list. I don't know if that's the same order you all see. So bear with me if I seem to be skipping people. And Lauren Doherty, our incumbent from Allen, please tell us about yourself.
Hi, WowDems. I'm Lauren Doherty. I think most of you probably know me by now. I'm the sitting council member in place 3 for Allen. And I am still running for re-election. That's what I've been saying on my phone messages when I leave them. A lot of people don't know that there is a runoff, but voting starts on Monday. So make your plans to go out and vote. Early voting starts Monday and goes through June 1st, and then election day is June 5th. For those of you who don't know me, I have spent the last 3 years in Allen working for some diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and doing a lot of work with just community engagement, giving out a lot of information through social media and getting input from the residents. So that's a really important thing to me, is making sure that our residents have the opportunity to participate in our decision making. And this last year has been really focused on public health and public safety as well. But I'm not going to take too much time. I would love your assistance on my campaign. I am running against some pretty crazy far-right folks. And so if you would like to help out, I will post my website and some volunteer opportunities in the chat. Phone banking and block walking are basically the 2 things. And I would like to say that block walking with me is super fun, because afterwards we're meeting at Uncle Julio's for margaritas, and they have a really good strawberry mint margarita right now that I can vouch for. So come out on Saturday morning to Uncle Julio's at 9:30. I'll give you some lit to drop, and then we can all hang out on the patio at Uncle Julio's for a drink. So But more importantly, don't forget to vote. Bring all your family members to vote. Make sure your kids between the ages of 18 and 24 vote, and your parents vote too. All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. And I want to point out that Amanda has put some links in the chat to get involved and do some block walking. And so candidates and your representatives, I encourage you to do the same. Please put it in the chat so people can find it easily. And I believe we have Wendy here for Angelia Pelham in Frisco.
Yes, thank you, Laura, so much. And I am representing Angelia Pelham as her campaign treasurer. She is running for Frisco City Council Place 3. And just very briefly, like you, Lauren, we are up against some pretty crazy right-wing people up here in Frisco as well. And so I just want to very quickly run through Angelia's 3 priorities. Number 1 is public safety. With 1,000+ people moving into Frisco every single month, our police and fire departments are very important to Angelia and all of us here in city leadership. Her second priority is managed growth in Frisco. Obviously, like you guys in Plano, we get a lot of attention with corporations looking to move here, and that makes us super excited because they help offset the ad valorem taxes that our homeowners here have to pay. So we are all for managed growth and welcoming those corporations to help us bear the tax burden. And then her third priority is a diversity of perspectives. Frisco is not the same Frisco of the late 80s and the early 90s. We are now 40% people of color in different cultures and different backgrounds. We have a very healthy veteran population, and we really have become a full life cycle city. And so Angelia's campaign is firmly built on being a bridge builder for all the citizens of Frisco. So anyone who wants to help and assist in our campaign, I'm going to throw it in the chat, but just very quickly, angeliaforfrisco.com. You can see her priorities, all of her endorsements, listen to her podcast that I helped co-host with her and helped her launch, and just all the information about her. And I really appreciate you, Wow Democrat women. This is an amazing opportunity for us, and we really appreciate you allowing me to speak on Angelia's behalf. So thank you, and good luck to all the candidates who are running right now. It's tough. So my thoughts are with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. And don't forget to drop that information in the chat. And Curtis J. Cornelius running for mayor of Little Elm.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invite. And I have to echo the sentiments of everyone that's in a runoff election. It is of the utmost importance that we push getting out to vote again. Just looking at some of the questions that we have to make sure we address. I had one great question that I hadn't thought about, was posted to me the other night, saying, if I voted on May 1st, can I still vote? I had never thought that people would actually have that question. So just a recommendation, make sure you push that information out to all your voters to let them know just because they voted on May 1, we still need them to come out. We have a very interesting race going on out here. I did win 49.7% of the vote. My election boiled down to 6 votes. 6 votes threw me into a runoff. So please let everyone know that every vote counts, every vote matters. We have to stand strong together and make sure everybody understands the importance of why we run. Like others, safety is definitely number 1. We're right beside Frisco, and the growth is just going crazy on this side of town. So we have to address our safety issues. We have to address our growth issues, just a lot going on. And we are the right people for the job, and we have to push that information out. It starts Monday. I need everyone's help. I'll push my link. I'll put my link in the chat. June 5th is a very special occasion for me. Not only is it election day, but it's also my wife's birthday. So I cannot let her down. And I need you guys to help push that message for me so we can get this done. We feel really comfortable, even though we won't rest until it's over. and we'll get this done. Wow, I do appreciate you guys. It's probably my second or third call with you guys. I just love the energy you bring and all the smiling faces, and I appreciate your support. So I'll be putting my information in the chat, just making sure everybody gets out and vote. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Curtis. Junior Izanu running for District 8, Grand Prairie City Council.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I just want to thank the Wild Dems for y'all just having me on one more time. I really appreciate it. So my name again is Junior Izanu. I'm running for the Place 8 at-large seat here in Grand Prairie. Grand Prairie is an interesting town. It's a minority majority town, quite a Democratic town. About 60% of the city voted for Biden in the 2020 election. But our city council doesn't really represent the ideology, nor does it represent the diversity of Grand Prairie. And that's one thing that we're fighting to change in this election. I just made it into a runoff against the incumbent, a conservative Republican that's been in power since 2009. And he got about 40% of the vote. I got 35% of the vote among 6 candidates. So we did pretty well. It's a testament to show that people in Grand Prairie are ready for change, ready for progressive change, ready for some diversity on the city council. And to make that happen, I need y'all's help. I need people to volunteer, to donate, to come help me work the polls starting on Monday next week, because we're really close. We're really close to making this happen. And at this point, it's just reminding people to come back out to vote one more time. Like Cornelius said, some voters are confused that if they voted on election day, can they vote again? Or if they didn't vote in the past election, are they eligible to vote again? You just got to keep reminding. It doesn't matter if you voted on May 1st. I need you to come back on June 5th or come back on Monday, May 24th, and come out to vote one more time. So yeah, just thank you all again for having me on. I'm really grateful to be here. I need your help. Thank you.
Thanks, Junior. Edward Moore running for Garland City Council.
Good evening. Wow. I say that because I think the name is very interesting, and I do appreciate you inviting me to come on tonight. My story is a little interesting, and I want to tell it to you in such a fashion that you'll understand how I got here. I ran for city council 4 years ago against a guy that beat me out by 29 votes. And of course, if you've done this twice, which I did, had a runoff then too, the last thing that you want to do is run again. And that's probably what I said to my family and to everyone else, that won't happen again. But about a month ago, 2 months ago, I received a call and someone wanted to know, did I know what was taking place in our district? And I said, no, what's going on? They said, well, do you know the name Alan West? I said, yeah, I know Alan. Well, you know, he moved into the district about 2 years ago. I said, yeah, I know. And you know what he's been espousing, right? Yeah, he wants to bring political ideology into Texas, such that what happened in Georgia will not happen in Texas. He said, well, guess what? His wife is getting ready to run for city council, and the guy that she's running against is not going to run. And it appeared at that point that she was going to run unopposed. Well, I could not allow that to happen. And so I began to look around and try to find people that we thought would run for the position. And everybody that I talked with said, Ed, you're the best person to run. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here I am tonight, Ed Moore, running for city council one more time, something I told the wife he wouldn't do. But one thing about it, I have a wife, I love her with all my heart. She has stood by me through thick and thin. Anything pretty much I've said we need to do, she's been there for us. We started out with 4 candidates. She did not run opposed, 4 candidates. And as a result of those 4 in the end, 48% of the vote is what I received. And now I'm running against a guy who has 23%. Yes, I said the same thing. And so I think that it's very important tonight that throughout the state of Texas, and especially here on the local level, that we recognize and understand that there is an ideology out there presently that there are certain parties that want to take over our local politics in the way of school boards, in the way of city councils, in an effort to leverage state politics, national politics, such that they can retain power. And that's the last thing that I think we need here on the local level. What we need now are people to come together. We need people to embrace one another. We need a situation of where we're not fighting against one another. And so the primary reason that I got involved was indeed that. But as a result of sitting down and putting together, and if you want, I'll put out there website, and you can go, and I'm not going to go through all of my accomplishments here in Garland. As I began to say, why do you really want to run? It became obvious to me that I was the best candidate to run. I have served on various committees and boards here with the city. And as a result of that, I truly believe at this point, we need to make sure that candidates are running who want to remain nonpartisan, candidates are running who love the city, who love the community, and candidates are running who are going to be able to reach across the table and make sure that we all work together. So I could go on also about my candidacy in the way of how can you help me? I'm very blessed. I'm blessed to have a very good, the guy who was running my campaign. I don't know if you know a guy named Jeff Dawson. Jeff has been ideal in the way of pulling us together, in the way of our campaign, in the way of managing it, in the way of canvassing and so on and so forth. So the best way that you can help me right now is prayer. The best way you can help me is sending money. We can always use that. And the best way that you can help me is if you know people here in the district, give them a call and tell them, vote for Ed Moore. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Ed. Julie Homer, running for Plano City Council again. Not again, but in the runoff.
I'm actually driving. Give me 1 second to pull over. I'm out delivering t-shirts to volunteers. I just dropped off a shirt with Sam Johnson and dropped signs off with Pat Evans. So hang on, I'm coming to a stop.
That's great. And Amanda did put some links to those block walks in our chat. So I encourage everybody to sign up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda, for doing that. So I'm Julie Homer. I'm running for Plano City Council Place 7. This is a special election because it's just for 2 years. The seat was vacated by Lily Bow to run for mayor, and she did not win. And so she is no longer on our council. And I'm running to hopefully replace her. I got into the race because I didn't see anyone that represented me running that I felt could win the race. And I knew that if we didn't win, we were going to lose the seat to some pretty far right radical people who were not as invested in the community. My opponent's been here for 5 years, but not yet done any kind of volunteering. I've been here for 40 years, grew up here, went to Plano schools. My kids are in Plano schools. You know, I've been really involved in the community with different nonprofit boards, and I just love my city. And I feel like running for council is kind of that next step to give back to the city that's given me so much. And if Casey Prince and I do not win our races, there will be one woman left on our city council, and that is it. And there will be one minority who also happens to be the woman, and that is it. And so something that's important to me if I'm elected is to really work hard and start identifying people that will be good future leaders that will better represent our population on council and on boards and commissions, because you know, one minority and then all white and possibly all men except for one is just not a representation of our city. So that's why I decided to run. I felt called to step up and do it, and it's been a good experience. I've met some amazing people. I've had some incredible volunteers. Amanda, for one, has stepped up and helped with volunteer coordination and things like that. So I ask for your vote. I thank you, Wow Dems, for giving us the invitation to come out and talk to you. I appreciate everything you guys do, and please vote for me. Get everybody out to vote. I did win the most votes in the original election, but it was too close for comfort. So I really appreciate everybody getting out and voting starting next Monday, and then election day is June 5th. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julie. D. Michelle Ocker, I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong, is running for Carrollton City Council. I see her on my, you there, Michelle?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
I don't see me, so I don't. Hi. Here we go. Excuse me. My name is Dorotha Michelle Oker. I'm on the ballot as D. Michelle. Tell the people I'm the candidate formerly known as Dorotha Oker. I ran in 2016 as the Democratic nominee against Matt Rinaldi, and I did get the Wow Dems endorsement back then. I know that was 5 years ago because time keeps flying in a pandemic. So I am now on the ballot as Michelle, as D. Michelle. I say the D is for Democrat. I'm running here in Carrollton. People don't realize often that Carrollton is in 3 different counties. We are in Denton County, Dallas County, and we are also in Collin County. We had, I think, 12 voters in Collin County, but we have over 100 Democrats in Collin County. But we had nobody who was willing to contact the Collin County voters to get them out to vote. So we're definitely looking for more volunteers in Collin County to try to remind people in Carrollton, in that major apartment complex and residential area, that they can still vote in the Carrollton municipals. Because in addition to people not realizing that they get to vote for me twice, they don't realize sometimes that they can vote for Carrollton, even if they're not in Denton or Dallas County. So when I get elected, I got 45% of the vote going into the runoff, which is the highest that any progressive candidate has gotten in a municipal election in Carrollton. If I were to get on there, it would be historic. It would be the first time there's 3 women on the city council of 7. So we're still not even a majority. And when I moved here, there were 7 white men on the city council. So we're slowly making progress. It is progress, but it is an uphill battle. So I'm very excited to go into the runoff. I'm not so excited to knock on doors in summer in Texas, but I've done it before and I'll do it again. And we are on Mobilize. You can see all of our events on Mobilize. And my website is michellecampaign.com, Michelle with 2 L's. I will also put it in the chat, and we have all of our events. We will be co-hosting an event with Joe Jaworski, who's running for AG, for the Democratic nominee for AG. We will be co-hosting with him on Saturday in the park, if anybody wants to meet him as well. So thank you so much for your support 5 years ago and all those years in between. Thank you.
Thank you. Please share that event. That sounds amazing. I have the name of a representative for Jamel Johnson for City Council Place 5 in Little Elm, but I don't see her when I search. So is there anyone here representing Jamel Johnson? No? Have I missed any candidates? Is anyone else here representing a candidate? No, I really appreciate everyone's time. I really, really appreciate it. It's a big deal to put yourself out there. I know it's not nice, and every single vote counts. You've given us all a lot of talking points to share with our friends and family on social media. So please text all your friends who are like-minded and share our values. Please share on your social media with friends that I've been a huge past. We only need to be a past for a little bit longer. So thank you so much.
Thank you all. No, it is so exciting to hear from every single one of you. And just like Laura mentioned, it is not easy to put yourself out there. So seriously, thank every single one of you. And I am very excited to see several of your faces again that you all made the runoff. I know it would have been better had we all obviously went out right, but I am so grateful that you all got to the runoff as well. And then let me share this again real quick. Before we have the amazing opportunity to introduce our speakers, we're going to do just a slight little business moment here. I'm going to drop this link. I don't think that worked. 1 second here. I apologize. I'm going to drop this link in the chat. These are grammar. The minutes from our March meeting. Please check over those real quick. I'll just give a moment. And then if someone would give me a motion to approve them, we can approve the agenda. And then we can get to our amazing speakers. I think y'all are going to be really impressed.
I move to approve the minutes in the agenda for this evening's meeting, the minutes from the previous meeting and the agenda for this evening.
Thank you, Debbie. May I get a second?
I second.
It's Courtney.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. Awesome. And interesting enough, those are both our events and outreach leads. So they are very excited to actually introduce our speakers. So let me once again share this real quick so they can introduce. Okay, take it away, Debbie and Courtney.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And we are incredibly excited this evening for two wonderful speakers, Nancy Tien and Jan Ji, who will be speaking about understanding and preventing anti-Asian racism. Before we go on, Jan is the founder and president of Asian Culture and Education Society USA. She's the president of OCA DFW, board of directors for AAUC, UCA, and ACP, as well as board of directors of Gendercide Awareness Project. She holds the executive certification in nonprofit governance from the University of Texas at Dallas. Nancy Tien is a board member with Act to Change, a policy fellow with Leadership for Educational Equity, and a lead organizer and founding member of Dallas Communities Organizing to Reach Equity, also known as CORE. As a child of Vietnamese immigrants and a first-generation college graduate, Nancy is passionate about pursuing equitable outcomes for communities of color and advancing for marginalized and underrepresented identities. As President Mitchell mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this is a problem that has exacerbated in recent months, and we want to understand it more deeply, understand the perspectives on the uptick in this type of racism and what we can do to support their community. We will have each speaker speak for 10 minutes and separately, and then we will take questions in the chat from you all. So please make sure that you put some questions in there. Sarah and I will discuss which questions to ask our leaders, and then they will take turns answering your questions. So with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and call on Nancy first, because she's got a slideshow she'd like to present with you all. So Nancy, you can go ahead and share your screen and begin your presentation.
Great. Thank you all so much for that introduction. Hi, everybody. It's so nice to meet you all or see you all if I've met you before. I'm Nancy. And Nancy Tien, and I am a educator at heart. So I taught in Dallas ISD or Dallas area schools for 7 years before transitioning to my current position now. And I'm going to try and fit everything I have for you in the next 10 minutes. So I want to start off today with a number. It's 6,603. 6,603 hate incidents have occurred between March 2020 and March 2021. So in a year's time, we've had up to 6,000 or more individuals that have experienced some form of hate incident against themselves because of the way they look, or because of the way they identify racially, ethnically, or even by nationality. Moving on, I thought it was very pertinent to share this, being in a room full of majority women, is that 1 in 2 of every Asian American Pacific Islander woman has experienced racism within the past 2 years. And that's just within the past 2 years. That's not to mention the lifetime of racism or trauma that we've experienced due to our identities. As a teacher, I'm very keen also in the ways that the current climate is affecting our youth. So bullying and cyberbullying has increased, of course. I think that's to go with the trend that adults are facing. 80% of Asian American students have experienced bullying either in person or online. Asian American youth have said that there's an increase in cyberbullying in 2020. So that's 70%. Both of these reports are linked in this PowerPoint that I'll be sharing soon. And I wanted to share as an Act to Change board member, we had to kind of advocate for ourselves and do the work ourselves. So there is no national institution. There are no actual scientific or academic institutions that are doing this work. Most of this work is being called upon by organizers, by community leaders, by youth that have to essentially use their voice and call for these studies and call for these surveys to be done. So this recent study that I'm sharing with you right now is an effort part of our Active Change organization with NextShark, which is a primarily Asian American facing journalism organization, and Admirasia. And I share all that to kind of bring to the forefront like what we're seeing in the news. You've probably seen the videos in the news. You've probably read the stories. We're seeing a huge increase of physical assaults against Asian American Pacific Islanders, and as well as online hate incidents. And so you'll see here that there's actually been an increase from last year to this year, up to a 10% or from a 10% to 16% increase in physical assaults. And then online hate incidents increased from 5% to 10% of total hate crime incidents, with verbal harassment and name calling still making up the majority of what hate crime looks like, or violence against violence against Asian American communities. And I realize I'm saying sorry a lot. It's a bad habit. I need to break it. Stop me from saying sorry. So jumping right into it, I've pulled this, I guess, collage of headlines that are really local to ourselves here in Texas. Recently in a report, Stop AAPI ranked Texas as 4th in anti-Asian incidents across the country. Last year in Texas and Midland specifically, we had a man stab three members of an Asian American family, 2 of whom were children, because he suspected that they were Chinese people infecting others with the coronavirus. The family did not identify as Chinese. We recently have a string of vandalism, and there was a Garland restaurant that I've actually gone to as a Vietnamese individual in Dallas. And apparently this happens all the time, where every so often someone decides to break their windows. The owners just have to take out money from their own pockets to replace the windows. We recently also saw a Texas GOP candidate say that she didn't want Chinese immigrants here at all, although she herself identifies as an Asian American. And then last but not least, last month, we had 3 Carrollton Farmers Branch teachers placed on leave after putting a very hateful question in a quiz, citing Chinese stereotypes around cuisine and behaviors. And it's honestly tough. And unfortunately, something that I have to share is that the history of the United States kind of leads us up to where we are now. And so I'm doing my best to kind of share with you a quick narrative of Asian American history so that we can better understand how deeply ingrained racism is, specifically racism against Asian American communities in our country. And I do want to share that the very first Asians that arrived in the continent that is now known as North America was actually before the founding of the United States of America, where we had a group of Filipino fishermen establish a village in the port or a bayou known as St. Malo in Louisiana. In the early 1800s, we began seeing waves of immigrations of people from China, from Korea, from India, Japan, the Philippines, and of Sikh descent. You also see here that they are railroad workers, they're miners, they're escaping other conflicts in their home countries. As soon as the waves of immigration kind of increase, we see a heightened sense of anti-Asian sentiment. And this is established in policy. So start off with the anti-Asian sentiment. In 1871, there is an incident known as the Chinese Massacre in present-day LA, and there's a mob of around 500 individuals who storm a Chinese community and end up hanging 15 Chinese people, and a total of 19 Chinese immigrants are lost that day. In policy, we see the Page Act passed in 1875 that prohibits Chinese women from immigrating. And then in 1882, we see the outright Chinese Exclusion Act of all individuals of Chinese descent from immigrating. This is known as the first official exclusionary act of immigration exclusionary law that's passed. In 1898, there is a coup d'etat against Queen Liliuokalani of Hawaii, and U.S. nationals actually conspired to overthrow the Hawaiian sovereignty there, the royal family. In 1942, after Pearl Harbor, we see the Executive Order of 9066, which places thousands of Japanese Americans living on the West Coast and some other additional states in concentration camps. They're commonly known as internment camps, but if we're going to be really real about history, these families were stripped of their properties, were stripped of their belongings, and forced onto makeshift camps, one of which is known, infamously known as a racetrack. So if you imagine a racetrack, it's just mud or just good old dirt floors, and they essentially just packed families onto trains and onto these makeshift camps for several months. When these families returned back to their communities, they were no longer homeowners, they were no longer business owners, and essentially could not advocate for themselves to regain any type of wealth or property. In the 1960s, we see a rise in organizing, and the term Asian American is first coined by student organizers. And I believe, yes, the activist that is credited with the terminology is Yuji Ichikawa. And the Asian American students actually developed a coalition to be united with other communities of color. And the movement is known as the Third World Liberation Front. And this is the same time as the Civil Rights Movement. In 1982, we see a national attention on the murder of Vincent Tien. Vincent Tien was a 28-year-old man who was destined to be married. I think the day after he was out on a night of town with friends. Something occurs where two other men decide to target him as being a Japanese who steals jobs. He ends up being beaten to death in the parking lot. And his mother, Lily Tien, is pictured here advocating for justice after his murder. In 1992, we see the LA riots draw national attention to kind of the, I think, anti-Blackness that is very relevant in Asian communities. And I bring this up because there is a very intentional way in which a country, our country, was allowing certain immigrants over that essentially developed this wedge that we see between communities of color. So there's the model minority myth, which pits Asian Americans essentially at the top hierarchy or top ring of people of color, which is untrue. There are several populations of Asian Americans that do not identify as the top wealth, or like as not as high wealth earners or earning advanced degrees in education. And so I bring that up kind of as like a pin, I don't want to say like a pinpoint or a significant point in history that kind of brings to light the wedge that can exist between communities of color. In 2001, after 9/11, we see a heightened assault against Muslims because of the stereotypes around terrorism. And then it brings us to today, where today or yesterday, President Joe Biden just signed the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which allows federal funding to be put into investigations towards anti-Asian hate crimes. Ooh, I'm over my time. So a couple of tips I have for everybody in here and just people in general is to train yourself. Each of us have a voice, each of us have power to be bystanders. Also educate yourself. All of us as parents, as community leaders, as individuals have a right to call for Asian American history to be centered and Asian American ethnic studies to be provided for our students. Currently, there are no Asian American studies written into Texas policy for education. we also have to do our work in unlearning racism and white supremacy. So even as an Asian American woman myself, I have learned racism, I have learned white supremacy because it is very pertinent in the United States and actually globally. So if we are to create change and really fight white racism, we have to really know what it is and know what it looks like. And I've linked an article there. And last but not least, as individuals, we need to make space for others. There are moments where you should be able to step in for folks, but there are moments where you should also step out for others, where if your voice is not the one that is representing the marginalized community, it may be more impactful to have someone else step in and advocate for themselves. And I think that's time. Sorry, it's so rushed, but I hope that was impactful. And I'll pass it off to Jan.
Thank you, Nancy. That was so informative and so comprehensive. Thank you so much. Jan, we'd love to hear your perspective.
Thank you so much, Nancy. When I saw your, you tell me the topic you will cover, so I decided to speaking from my personally and from my heart. I'm so honored to be here. I'd first like to thanks Debbie O'Reilly and Sarah Mitchell and Catherine Goldman for the invitation today. And thanks Women Organized Women Democrats for organizing this event. I saw a lot of, running officer here, so I wish you all good luck. I appreciate President Biden for signing the Anti-Asian Hate Crimes Bill into law today. In the past, the Chinese Exclusion Act was first enacted in 1882. The law prohibited the naturalization of Chinese immigrants as American citizens. It helped develop the idea of yellow peril, that the people of East Asia are a danger to the Western world, especially for the woman. Due to the forced and inflammatory rhetoric of the past year, blaming the Chinese for the coronavirus and the Kung Fu virus, now we all know who did that. There has been an unprecedented increase in violence crimes and harassment against Asian in America. In the past year alone, more than 3,800 incidents of violence and hatred have been reported against the Asian American community. In the Atlanta shooting, 6 of the 8 victims were Asian women, and yet there has been no single officer in charge of the case. After the killer had confessed to his crimes and said he was merely having a bad day, he seemed to both deny the fact that there was a hate crime and dismiss its significance altogether. In Manhattan, a Philippine lady on her way to church was knocked to the ground and kicked in the head until she had to be sent to the hospital in critical condition. There were 2 people inside of the building doorman who watched. All they did was watch until the very end, when they walked over and closed the door on the scene instead of offering any assistance to the woman who was unable to move. In Texas, 2 Asian children and 2 adults were stabbed at Sam's Club in Midland, Texas, in another hate crime. In Dallas, a former Dallas Star employee compared Chinese people to squirrels being shot. He remarks that the surface and the threat on next door compared to the animal to the Chinese because they just keep coming. When you shoot a squirrel, it stops that one and also stop it from breeding to create more squirrels year after year. The squirrels are like the Chinese. They just keep coming, he noted. It's not enough for 1 or 2 people to be shooting them. We all need to do our part to make a difference. On June 22, 2020, I told the Dallas Morning News that his words hurt. As the founder of the Asia Cultural and Education Society USA, in the past year, our organization has been collecting what is most needed for the community and providing personal protective equipment and hot meals for first responders. Most of were donated by Chinese American. I started to think that the people would shoot me on the street. So I started to avoid driving in the dark to collect the PPEs. My friends have begun check on me when they see my name on the Dallas Morning newspaper. In Carrollton, 3 teachers implied that eating cats and dogs is the normal in part of China. March 31st, 2021, 3 teachers made a social study test, which asked students to identify which of the following statement about China was true in the Blanlock Middle School in Carrollton. One question is, it's normal in parts of China to eat cats and dogs. So our Chinese community, DFWCA, started a petition. As of today, I saw had 51,705 signed. Surrey came. I started a petition that 1,056 people signed up for against Surrey came after she made the anti-Chinese remarks at the GOP forum in Arlington. I don't want them here at all, Surrey came said on the topic of potential Chinese immigrants. They steal our intellectual property. They give us coronavirus. They don't hold themselves accountable. And quite frankly, I can say that because I'm Korean, she added. The Chinese American community has contribution numerous to the economic, cultural diversity, and the civil life of Texas. Throughout the pandemic, the community has helped healthcare workers and first responders with badly needed personally PPEs and free meals offered in grateful recognition of their sacrifice. We are far from being the enemy. Chinese America have been in the front of the fight against the pandemic as well, with many Chinese American healthcare workers being involved in caring for their fellow Texans. In Plano, Texas, a younger Chinese American told me that a store employee that refused to serve him a coffee in the morning. And so the store manager fired that employee at the end of the story. And also in Plano, I had a Plano friend that told me their salary was unfair and below the average due to racial discrimination. I have students that tell me to go back to China, even though I have been here for over 20 years. 2 of my kids were born here, and I have tried my hardest to raise them into outstanding American citizens. So why do they get to tell me to go back to China? This is why I decided to have the rallies, both virtual and in person, and lead the day's effort to encourage Asia-centered organizations and residents to come together in solidarity. So many tragedies happens around us those days in the country. Our community does not feel safe. The violence and the hatred must be stopped, and we need to step up and take some action. We are Chinese Americans, and we are proud of our contribution to America and Chinese cultural heritage. Some interesting facts can be gleaned from the report from Foundation to Frontier. The contribution of Chinese America to the structure of the United States. Of the 5.3 million Chinese Americans, 75% are American citizens. There are currently 2.3 million Chinese Americans working, according to 1.2% of the American labor force. In the 10 years from 2008 to 2018, the number of Chinese Americans who obtained voting rights increased by 57%, which was 5 times the average increase in the United States during the same period. According to the statistic data of the Labor Bureau from 2014 to 2019, 6.8% of Chinese people aged 15 and over participate in volunteer activities. I am the first generation of American immigration from China in my family. I am proud to be a Chinese American and of my Chinese cultural heritage, yet I'm not a good role model. Asian Americans do not always have outstanding grades, are not always talented in math and science, do not always study and work hard, do not always achieve higher grades, and do not always stay ahead of other students in standardized exams. I believe America's core value and basic principles, bringing equity and fairness to all people of every race. Aside from the Native Americans, we are all originally immigrants to this country. Whether you are a first-generation immigrant or one of several generations, we come from different regions, different arts, different races, different languages, and different cultures, but our hearts are the same. We came here to build our American dream. We need to love each other, unite, and eliminate the causes of xenophobia and violence in the AAPI community. We need to promote our civil rights and educate the public. We need to understand the long history of Chinese and Asian Americans and their contributions to United States. We need to give Asian America full and equal rights. We, like everyone else, are a fundamental part of this country. What happened to the United States? What happened to us? What happened to us? What happened to the United States? Gary Lark once said, this is a critical moment. The uglies of racism and xenophobia against different races and injustice has been exposed and can no longer be ignored. We must unite with each other. We will fight racism and anti-Asian hatred and the internal struggle for tolerance and equality. Thank you for your support. And I ask each and every one of you to stand with us and protect us from the rising violence against Asian American and Pacific Islander communities. Thank you very much for having me today.
Wow. Thank you so much, Jan. I mean, I'm just moved to tears over what y'all are talking about. And I think as Democrats, we all feel the same way, that when one of us hurts, we all hurt. We're all interconnected as a community. And the pain that this community has suffered through, we all share. So thank you, Nancy and Jan. It's just so powerful what you all are both saying, and just truly touched on the issue in a way that just so refined and so heartfelt. So I know I speak for all of us when I say our heartfelt gratitude for sharing your perspective. I would like to, I have not seen questions in the chat, but I would personally like to just ask you all, you know, there's been a lot of politicizing of this term critical race theory. You know, there's kind of a perspective, there's a push for, in school boards in particular, educating students, preventing bullying, promoting diversity and inclusion, also at city council level. And there's a lot of pushback, sadly, against these initiatives because they feel, certain people feel like there's this white fear that it's shaming white people or, you know, whatever. I can't pretend to get inside of their head and their rationale, but there's an initiative in certain legislative bodies at the local level to push for diversity and inclusion, and then there's a pushback that we don't need that. We're not racist. We don't need that kind of education in our schools or in our city. So I'd like both of you to answer your perspectives about the initiatives for diversity and inclusion at the local level and also the pushback.
Yeah, thanks for asking this question. And I wanted to touch on something that I oftentimes I hear the quote, "We are all immigrants," and I wanted to highlight that erases two important narratives of people of color. One being the history of Indigenous Americans who were the original stewards of the land that we now live on, that we now know as the United States. And so when we say we all are immigrants, we're forgetting about our Indigenous siblings. And it also erases the history of Black communities that were brought here against their will by colonizing and enslaving people. And so I just wanted to bring that up before I answer this question. This question is so important. I am a teacher by heart. I also am a diversity, equity, and inclusion facilitator. And honestly, the push against CRT is an effort to silence people of color, essentially, to leave out the narrative, leave out the history, leave out the real stories of people of color, the voices of dissent that we've had in the past. I never saw myself in a history book unless it was about the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor, unless it was about, honestly, that's it, right? Like the only time I ever see myself in history as a child, all the way up until I was 20, I think I'm 24, I never knew that Asian American activists stood in the streets protesting alongside Black activists and Black civil rights leaders until I was a grown woman. And that's because I had to put myself in a seat in front of somebody so I could hear that story. And so when I see politicians pushing this fight to ban CRT, it's an effort to silence people and to continue to hold on to power. Because when we educate ourselves as marginalized folks, whether it's being women, whether it's being people of color, we're empowering ourselves to really honor our ancestors and really honor our voice and really honor our experiences. And that's just goes against, I think, what it means to be a democratic or a diverse or inclusive or equitable country. And I think what I said there kind of promotes the reason why we should have ethnic studies. When we're able to learn the real history of ourselves, the real history of each other, we're better able to honor each other's humanity and fight for equality and equity in a way that takes into account historical marginalization, whether it was like redlining of Black families during the housing boom after the war, whether it's talking about how reparations for Japanese internment families, and any other marginalized identity that faces equitable issues.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Nancy. Jan, did you have anything to add to that?
Our organization is basically when I founded, it was we are working on the culture is changing because we are a nonprofit organization, 501c3. So sometimes we cannot have some opinion, but for personally myself, I support diversity and inclusion. I support BLM. So I went to the rally in Plano and also rally in Dallas to support African Americans, to support George Floyd. So I'm so sad about the South Lake, what happened there. Yeah. So I think
Yes.
Democrats need to do something.
Absolutely. I mean, if anybody will, it's up to us, because the Republicans, I'm sorry, sure aren't going to do it. It's up to us. We would like to, I think we'd like to stop and just, if we were all here together in person, we'd be standing up applauding you, right? Like we would all be standing up and just, you would see visibly the appreciation that we have for your presentation tonight. And I wish that you could see and feel firsthand our gratitude, both of you. I think we've got a few questions in the chat. I think one thing I'd like to ask you to do, ladies, is as you see the questions in the chat, I'd like to give you the ability to, yes, and hugging Michelle. Yes. This is one thing we all miss about being face to face, right? Is just moments like this when we're literally brought to tears and we're feeling all the same feelings together. If there are questions in the chat, I'd like to give both ladies the opportunity to respond to them in the chat as well, so that they can have some time to contemplate the responses, and we'll proceed with our meeting. But I would love for you both to, like I said, respond to questions in the chat. We're getting a few now. So would that be okay with you, Nancy and Jan, to respond in the chat to these questions that we have coming in?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And we are recording this, and we will have this on our social media for others to see, so that we can promote your message loud and clear. Sarah, I'd like to ask you to move to the next slide in your presentation so we can talk about our service project at the choosing of Miss Jan G. You can see.
Yes. For example, we are, yesterday we're going to plan a police department to donate the safety cameras and the masks and the food and the books, clothes, school supplies for the women shelter, the victim women and children there. So basically, we need a volunteer help to move, to stocking and move those. And also we host the summer camps for the youth to learn Asian American history and Chinese American histories. And we have the leadership training. We would love to have the people, to have you come to talk to them. So to training our next generation. So yeah, and see, also we because we still have the masks. So you see the governor, the state. So we would love to donate it if you have the. I saw some might be have the getting together. So if you need it, you just let me know so we can donate the masks for your group or meeting in persons.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jan. And I did include the link to your organization in the chat, and there is a donate button from the homepage. You can see it. So I would like to encourage everybody to either volunteer or just take a few minutes tonight to donate, even $5, $10. Every little bit helps. I think, you know, the drop in the bucket adds up to quite a bit, you know, when we all pull together. So please support Jan's organization, Asian Culture and Education Society USA. That's our service project. If we were all together, we might bring objects for our service project or, you know, valuables, but donations are what we have to offer this evening. So again, thank you very much to both ladies, Nancy and Jan, and our utmost gratitude towards you.
Can I say one more thing?
Of
We
course.
had a donation competition, and basically, we just need the people. We just need more person. So you can donate to $5. So we are is on givingmay.org. So you can find us there. So they just they have something competition was matching. So
Okay, if there's a better link for donations, please, Jan, put that in the chat and we will absolutely
okay.
accommodate
Yeah,
that.
it's tell you.
I love that. That's really powerful. Thank you so much.
I'd like to go ahead and Sarah, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. Well, several slides. Let's go a few more slides to the end. Actually, I'm going to go back one. All right, there we go. I'm going to talk very briefly about our next meetings. We've basically filled the calendar for the rest of the year. So I wanted to just bring your attention. July 15th is our next meeting. We have confirmed Michelle Beckley. Victoria Neave is checking with her people and trying to get that on the calendar. And we're also waiting to hear back from Anna Maria and Retta Bowers. But we do have Beckley and it seems Neave confirmed. We will have a recap of the 87th legislative session. I know that you will love to hear their perspectives. They have been on fire on social media, pushing back about the atrocities that have been going on in the legislative session this year, and you'll get to hear from them firsthand. Sarah, one more slide, please. We will be returning to Collin College Preston Ridge campus live at 9700 Wade Boulevard. So yay, we're going to all be together again. We will do a hybrid meeting where some of you who prefer to be online can join us online. We'll provide more information about directions and which room that we'll go to at a later time. But I just want to let you know that we will be meeting face to face at our next meeting at our campus in Frisco. Sarah, one more slide, please. September 16th, we have Eric Jackson, former FBI agent, who will talk about reclaiming the law and order message for Democrats. I had a very interesting conversation with Mr. Jackson about this recently, and I think you will be as excited as I was when you hear him speak. One more slide. And we've got Ann Drum from American Promise. If you remember, Ann spoke on behalf of the climate lobby, very engaging presentation at the Art Center. She's now working with American Promise, and her topic will be to win the 28th Amendment to the Constitution to restore American democracy for the people. So more information will be provided on these 3 meetings coming up, but basically we're booked through the end of the year, and I'm very excited that we'll be meeting face to face again. Okay, thank you all for this portion of the presentation. I'll turn it back to Sarah.
No, that's really powerful. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, Ann Drum spoke to Moms Demand Action when I was the local group lead there a couple of years ago about money in politics and the gun lobby, obviously for us. And it's very enlightening and scary all at the same time. So yes, no, truly, thank you. And then let me bounce back a little bit here. And our Collin County partners, Michelle and Liz, who are amazing local activists, are going to give a little bit of a presentation on how they are reaching out to Collin County to register. And I know Ira wasn't able to be here tonight, but he is with Denton Together and will be giving us a brief overview on his at another meeting as well. So if you are connected with Dallas and Tarrant and have registration moves that you would like to tell us about there, we're very excited to share that information, because the more that we amplify and communicate and coordinate, the more that we can actually make some progress.
Hi, I'm Michelle Ingalls, and Liz is here somewhere in the big Brady bunch. If you don't mind, can I share my screen? And I can walk you through our quick presentation to show you we have super ambitious plans to register 60,000 new voters in Collin County from between June and October. So I guess buckle up because we're going for it. So let me share this, and I'll go fast because you guys all have been here and present and focused, and this is a lot lighter subject, and I make stupid jokes. So there you go. Our project is called Register Collin, and this is the Collin County Democratic Party's coordinated campaign project for June, July, August, September, and the first few weeks of October. So we are all in to register people to vote. And that number, I know when we got locked down for COVID, my dentist has been telling me I need braces. So I got the braces put on, so I lisp a little bit now. It's a feature. So I didn't say 16,000, I said 60,000 new voters. So if you thought 16,000 was a lot, guess what? We're going bigger. We want to register this many people. We need you. And let me tell you how we're going to do this, because I know this sounds like an insurmountable goal. But 60,000 voters is how many voters we need to completely 100% from top to bottom sweep the slate, the entire ballot from the top to the bottom in Collin County in 2022. So if you would like a Democrat to represent you in, okay, we can't knock Cruz and Cornyn out because they won't be on this ballot, but we'll get ready. But from our US representative all the way down the ballot, we can sweep it if we do this. And man, oh man, I need a bigger cup to catch all of those Republican tears. I told you I made dumb jokes. It's okay. If you want to groan, go ahead. I've got teenagers, I can take it. So how the heck are we going to do this? We are going to go precinct by precinct, door by door. This is going to be, I've scheduled it out. We're doing about 15 precincts a weekend between June 11th and October 3rd. That's going to be 6 2-hour shifts, 3 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday. So we're just going to take it in little small bites, 1 bite at a time, 2.5 precincts per shift. It's going to take 8 to 10 volunteers and a team captain. We can do this. We're also being very, very, very partisan. When we're going door to door, I want you to wear your demmiest Democrat shirt. I don't care what shirt it is. If it's not on this slide, we'll add it. But we are going to be very, very, very partisan. When the door open, when you knock on the door or you ring the doorbell and the person inside opens the door, even before you say a word, I want them to know that you are a Democrat. So if they say, hey, Democrat, get off my front porch, go away, that's great. Then we know they're a Republican. We mark their house off. We haven't registered them to vote. We're not enabling them. They can figure out how to register to vote on their own, just like the state of Texas wants, and we'll go to the next door. So, like I said, this whole project partisanship is very, very much encouraged. And we're going in teams, so we're going to stay safe. I don't want to put anyone out there and make you feel unsafe, but we're Democrats. We're sticking together and we're getting this done. The tools that we're going to use is a tool that I'm sure if you've been hanging around the CCDP anytime at all, it's Map the Vote. Straight up, simple. You got all the little pins. The little pins mark the doors where we need to register some folks to vote. We're going to go knock on those doors and say, hey, I'm a Democrat. Can I register you to vote? The thing is, we're not going to use the interface with Map the Vote for any more than finding the addresses and marking them off. We're going to send our DVRs to the doors with the green sheets, and we're going to register people on the spot. We're not leaving anything to chance. We're going to get these folks registered, and we are going to clear these pins off this map. So green forms, if you're a deputized registered voter, I can never say those words, deputized voter registrar or DVR, great. You know what the green sheets are all about. You know what to do. If you are not deputized, the Collin Elections Department is doing online training labs. You can get deputized. If you study better, reading through the material on your own and going and taking the test, it's an open book test. It's only 1 page long. That's great too, but we need you deputized. And even if you're not deputized, we still need you and we want you along with us, because any of you who do block walking know not all the doors open. And that's okay. We are going to leave them the white forms that they can mail in and a little sheet that says, hey, y'all, we're Democrats. And here's how you register yourself to vote. And here's how to check on your voter registration status. So we're still going to be partisan. We're still going to leave the stuff. We're still going to try to get them registered to vote. Another thing we're going to do, since we are at the doors and we're talking to people and we're introducing ourselves as Democrats, is we're going to do an online survey with these folks to ask them questions. That's going to be super handy in 2022 when it's time to vote. We're going to ask these folks their name and address, their email address, their phone number, their birth date. We're going to verify that they're Democrats. We're going to ask them what their key voting issues are, what they care about, what gets them to the ballot box. And we're going to ask them if they want to come out and volunteer with us. And so not only are we going to get these folks registered to vote, but we're going to know what makes them get out to vote. We're going to pre-qualify all this stuff. We're going to record all this stuff. And when the data gets, there's a lot of data shuffling that goes around. You know, our green forms go to the county elections put it in the system. They send it to the Secretary of State sends it to the TDP puts it, it's a long colluded thing. Anyway, when the data on the green form gets into our database, we're going to match it up with all of this stuff that we collected at the door. And we're going to know all this information, and we're going to know how to reach these Democrats and get them out to vote next year, or in 2022, next year. I already went through a lot of this stuff. How does this help? We know how to contact these folks again. We know they're Democrats. We share all this partisanship information with all of our candidates in Van and all of our county parties. We share all the phone numbers. We share all the issues questions with all of these candidates who are running on our ticket. So we've already pre-qualified. We're going to have 60,000 new voters pre-qualified that the Republicans aren't going to know anything about. So instead of 60,000 new unknown voters in the database, they're already pre-qualified. We also share all this data with all of our clubs and all of our local candidates. So this is going to be, hopefully this is going to be huge. The net home doors, we talked about those. We're going to do the mail-ins, a letter encouraging them to register and why it's important, a welcome card from the county party, as well as a welcome card from our local club. So if Plano Dems wants to send us, you know, hand us a little welcome sheet to go along with our packet, we're sticking it in there. We're going to have our QR code to our online survey, hopefully to get some more people pre-qualifying themselves in our database. you know, hopefully us leaving the stuff on the door that says, hey, we're Democrats, the Republicans will just put that right in the recycle bin. If they don't, we have to register them anyway. It's all cool. We're also going to have team captains. We're not having everyone meet at the Democrat office. We're having people meet in the different neighborhoods at like a McDonald's or a Whataburger or whatever it is. And our captains are going to have the packets, the volunteer packets all made up, and meet the volunteers, go through training, do a little role play to, you know, get people ready to knock on those doors, and distribute all the materials, send everyone out to their territories, and at the end of the 2-hour shift, come back and collect all of the filled out forms. So we don't have to ask all of our volunteers to take them to the elections office. We're going to collect them all up in one big batch and send them to the elections office in one big batch from the county instead of just person by person. Hopefully to make it quick, to make it easy, to have a home base to ask questions to do their one-on-one training, make everything fun and easy. And yes, you can volunteer if you're not deputized, and registering voters this is our key to win. And we're starting our homework early. You know, we could start this next summer, but then we're scrambling like crazy. We're starting it right now. Also, sometimes, and I totally get this, we're all different. We need all of you. So if knocking on a door like sends you into a panic attack, we still need your help. We won't send you to a door, I promise. We need lots of people to call our volunteers and ask them, hey, would you like to block walk? We need phone bankers. We'll need text bankers. We'll need teams to prepare all of these volunteer packets. And once we start getting the data back into Van, we're going to have some people who, and I'm going to be the biggest, I guess, committer of this crime. I have really fat thumbs, and when I'm trying to put stuff into my phone, I can't spell anything right. So Mike is going to be spelled M-K-I-E and things like that. So we're going to need people to sort out my typos and get the data matched up between, you know, the stuff that gets rejected because I spelled it wrong. We'll need people to sort out those exceptions. Most of the data is going to get fed right in automatically, but, well, you know, typos happen. So if you are ready to sign up, I'm going to send all of the sign up and data. I mean, we're still in the development stage of this and getting all the details. We do have a sign up sheet for our first weekend. That's June 12th and 13th. I'll send that to Sarah to distribute out. If you want to be a captain, like if you're a veteran block walker and you want to help new people block walk and pair people up and do the training, we would love that. If you want to sign up for a phone bank, just send me a note. We don't have that sign up done yet, but it's coming. We're also fundraising for this to hit 60,000 doors and to have lit for 60,000 doors. It's going to cost some money. Also, I want to like butter up our volunteers and get them some cool swag. So we will have a fundraising page for this as well. And I know that was a lot. It was really fast. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Love them all. And yes, I want to do it for Denton too. I just don't have enough cycles. So if you have people who want to do it in Denton, send them my way. I will share all the information. I just can't lead it for both counties.
Totally understandable. Yeah, no, that's a great point. If y'all are precinct chairs or want to reach out to Denton Dems or Denton Together, y'all can put together a vote. You can make sure you're actually putting each other in coordination and actually having this big organization push. Like, this is going to be huge. We're all going to need to take steps forward and really help with this. Excellent. Thank you so much. And then also, let me hop back here. Ramona and Sheena are here for our legislative, and I put on here that I want to congratulate Sheena. She recently got a promotion at her job. Unfortunately, that means that she will need to take a step back from legislative, but we are so thrilled that she is being recognized as the amazing person that she is. So if y'all are interested in helping legislative, please, please, please help Ramona. And Ramona, are you still here? I have lost you. I think I did lose her. All right. But yes, she is number one, obviously looking for a co-chair. But number two, there are so very many very many bad bills. So I want to make sure that we all help each other through this, because even while the legislative session is closed, that actually just means that they're going to be more likely and able to meet with us, and we are going to light up their offices. And let's see here. And actually one more chance. Make sure that she was here. All right, it's okay. And fundraising. All right, Catherine and Cynthia, talk to us.
Well, you just get me. My partner in crime is off celebrating her birthday in Austin. Yeah. So very quickly, Cynthia actually has come up with this great idea. We are going to be able to do a Shopify application in our WowDems online processes, which will allow us, and the multi-talented Courtney Hitt is going to help us with some really great graphics. And what that allows us to do is offer any number of products. Right now, since we usually do make them, produce them ourselves, and then have to distribute them ourselves, it's a slow process, and we only do a couple at a time. This way, we should be able to offer up anything from like the glasses that you like, to t-shirts, to tote bags, to yoga pants, to all kinds of things that we can brand with our WowDems, and it will ship directly to your home from the places that are making them for us. And so we're excited about this. We're excited to bring you lots more interesting stuff that's branded with WowDems. And as soon as we get all that together, we'll be letting you know about that. And then everything that we still have in stock, our t-shirts and our masks and glasses, we'll be cutting the prices on them just to clear them out.
That's awesome. I get compliments on the mask and the glass all the time, so y'all are doing great. All right, and Sadia literally just let me know that she had to bounce off. But Mary, our co-chair, is here. Give us an update on communications.
Okay, so the slide that's up there now is actually from the last meeting.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me go to the other.
I've got this month's slide up if you want me to try to share. No if I could figure out how to do this. Give me just a second. Okay, can you guys see my screen? The first bullet point I have is about social media. Okay, awesome. All right, so we continue to grow our followers on social media. Our current numbers on Facebook, we have 3,714 followers, which has been an increase since the beginning of the year of 293. We have 1,214 followers currently on Twitter, which is an increase of 154. And then on Instagram, we have 903 followers currently. Unfortunately, I couldn't go back to the beginning of the year to see how much that's increased, but I think that is a little bit of a bump. And as Sarah mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, We do also have a YouTube channel, and I'm going to put links to all of these things in the chat after I finish giving the report. So I will put a link to our YouTube channel in the chat. We are posting all of our recordings from our monthly meetings there. We have our mid-month president's message, special events that we've held, and just, you know, a lot of good stuff there. So I encourage you all to please go out there and subscribe. And then we also are, as usual, looking for blog content, which you could send to our email address at communications@wowdems.org. So we would love to have articles on current events. If you just want to write something about, you know, your take on what's going on right now, or we'd love to also have people share their personal stories with us. There's just, you know, so much going on right now, you know, between the, you know, racism, as we've talked about, voter suppression, you know, constant mass shootings, and the permitless carry bill that they're trying to pass here, the anti-woman legislation, the anti-mask executive orders, and you know, the Marvin Scott incident, and you know, it's not really getting any traction in the news, and we've got, you know, local and statewide reps who are, rather than trying to, you know, bring justice to, you know, bring justice for his family, are trashing the people who are out there peacefully protesting and standing up for people who are assaulting them. So a lot of really disturbing stuff going on right now. If you're interested in writing about it, we'll give, you know, we'd love to give you a platform, share it with our members, or if you have any, you know, personal stories that you'd like to share on, you know, any current events that are, you know, affecting you personally, we'd love to have that as well. So send those our way. And also, as usual, we're looking for volunteers always, and I will drop that chat or that link in the chat as well. And that's
Awesome.
all I've got. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that's so important, because you're right. Right now, the biggest thing we can do is amplify each other's voices, because it really does make a huge difference. And right now in our 4 counties, there's a lot of really rough, heartbreaking things happening right now. So the more that we can make sure that we let people know they're not alone, the better. Thank you, Mary.
Sure.
And then let me, Caroline, are you here still?
Yeah, I'm still here. I know Trish was here earlier, but had to leave,
Yes,
I think.
you let me know she had to leave. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, well, you know, it's her busy time in work, so we all get that. So we actually need to update this, but we are up to 165 members.
Nice.
So even better than that, we just pulled the numbers today. You know, as y'all know, this is one of the main ways we help grow our money, so we can afford everything from a cool building to meet in to supporting candidates. All the money that we raise through memberships and also the fabulous fundraising team, that all goes directly to help support, you know, women candidates. So thank you, Catherine. You totally beat me to that. If you're not sure, you can always message me. But yeah, join, renew. It's a once a year thing. So if you haven't done it since January, time to do it. And if you're interested in helping us out, especially since we're about to have in-person meetings, so there's going to be a little bit of like getting to know everyone and like passing out stuff. So it'll be super fun meeting everyone in person. So hit us up. It'll be great.
Yes, I am really excited for that, because I too am definitely a hugger. When there is consent, just to be clear. But yes, no, thank y'all so much. There's a lot of students that I've talked to lately that are also really excited, and I put it in the chat, but it's only $30 annually and $15 for students, because we know obviously there is a lot of other costs that students have to deal with. So yay. And before we do our treasurer's report, I do want to say a special thank you to Catherine Casavant. She has been our treasurer for the last several years, has provided an amazing organization, historical perspective, making sure she keeps all of us on the ball. making sure that she keeps us not going too overboard, keeping us honest. So I truly want to say thank you. She is earning her place to be able to step back because, like I said, she's been keeping us in line for several years. So I think she's earned a bit of a break. And you all probably recognize Linda Graham. She will be stepping up and has been backing up Catherine. So Catherine has done an amazing job of already training her replacement. So I truly want to say thank you to Catherine. And yes, again, congratulations and thank you, Sheena. Literally every single person that has ever been in this board, I mean, y'all are just amazing. Every single person that we have and have been meeting and have been bringing up, like the community activism and just the passion and the compassion, it is truly meaningful. So thank every single one of you. All right, now go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, were you going to pull up the report? So I will say, so I am doing the treasurer's report today. I'm still cross-training Linda. She's not quite ready to step up yet. This last month, we had very little activity. We did raise $640, and half of that came from donations. Thank you to our donors. Whoop, whoop. Yes, so we raised $640 and we had only $144 worth of expenses. So we ended the month with $22,000. So we are very fiscally sound and good to go.
Awesome. And then here, let me share this real quick. I do apologize. I don't know why it wasn't popping up originally. Here we go. And yes, no, we
Hey, that's what I said.
we did actually just have a $250 donation that I saw come across yesterday. So, you know, even in the midst of a lot of things going on, y'all are just so generous and have a ton of empathy for the community that we're trying to really raise awareness and money on for these amazing candidates that you've heard from. Maybe not actually the municipal ones, because obviously due to so many municipalities, we can't get involved locally except for making sure we amplify their voices. But this really does make a difference for a lot of these candidates. It's unfortunately extremely expensive to run for office. So the more that we can actually back these women up, the better. So yeah, and again, seriously, thank you, Catherine.
All right, thanks.
Absolutely. Okay. And we did actually talk about the next meetings. So I do just one more time want to share this screen. Maybe. There we go. Once again, thank you so much, Jan and Nancy. It is just heartbreaking and really empowering to hear y'all bring in the history and the current events, tying those two together, making sure that we know what's going on. You're absolutely correct. Education and awareness is the biggest piece. There are so many people, you know, hearing the testimony yesterday regarding the Tulsa massacre that didn't even know that it happened until it popped up in Watchmen, which is a TV show. So these things are so critical to being aware of how the threads of today tie into the threads of yesterday when it comes to anti-Asian racism, as well as really every other flavor of racism right now has a history in how we were founded. So truly, thank you. And then before we actually have a motion to adjourn and we can just have some time to chat together and ask questions of each other, are there any announcements or things I am forgetting? Because I guarantee you it is nearly the end of the week and I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
Sarah, if I could, this is Ramona.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got I got disconnected. I heard I was here for the whole meeting, but I just wanted to
Go.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Uh-oh. Yes, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
So
awesome.
what I
Yes.
wanted to share with everyone is that, as I mentioned to you at our board meeting, I am going to make personal phone calls and reach out to people who have been on the legislative committee and who may not have been active recently. However, I think I would like to request just an hiatus for this transitional period until I can manage to make all of those calls with the numbers that I have access to. And so I'm thinking probably the end of June would probably be a reasonable time to expect that we would be back on track to have meetings and to have some form of consistency as far as how often we meet. So I am going to reach out to Kathy and see what type of historical information she can give me and support. So I just wanted to put that out there that we're still a viable committee and it's just a transitional period. So thanks everybody for sending me the information that you did earlier.
Thank you, Ramona. No, we do truly appreciate it. We know right now there's so very much that y'all are trying to be on top of because our legislators are just horrifying. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Club leaders, are there any upcoming event announcements you want to make sure we make before we get a motion to adjourn?
Y'all, voting starts Monday.
Yes, and I'd like to invite you all to the Frisco Dems meeting on Sunday. We have we just socialized from 4:30 to 5. And Crystal Bates and Sherlyn Dorsey from NAACP are going to speak to us about Juneteenth and the significance and meaning behind it, as well as Nikki Sumro from Moms Demand Action is going to talk to us about Gun Violence Prevention Month, which is June. Would love to have you and welcome you to our meeting.
Yes.
When is it again? I'm sorry.
It's on Sunday. It's a Zoom meeting. Our formal meeting starts at 5, but if you can join us, we just gab and socialize from 4:30 to 5 on the Zoom meeting.
Awesome. No, thank you. Both of those are amazing speakers. I've gotten the chance to, well, know Nikki, but be introduced to Crystal. So yeah, that's fabulous. Thank you. Any other clubs or announcements before I get a motion to adjourn? Awesome. No, I'm super excited, Ellen. Seriously, you go vote, bring 5 friends to go vote. Like we got to get these numbers because there are some very extreme candidates and we cannot let them be red in our cities, y'all. All right. But no, seriously, thank every single one of you who have come tonight. Thank you to our speakers. We will have this up on YouTube. I will put in the chapter so you can, if you miss some of the candidates, get the candidates. If you want to rewatch the speaker or share the speakers, please, you will be able to do that as well. So again, thank you. And yes, may I get a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
All right, Mary, and then who's second? I heard 2 voices.
Me, Catherine.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right, cool. Then awesome. Thank you so much. And now that we're officially concluded, I will stop the recording.